If you have not watched the previous video, please watch it first. The link is available in the description or in the I button. All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. We are diving into Chapter 6 of Robert Kiyosaki's absolute classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the title of this chapter really says it all. Work to learn, not for money. Let's jump right into this because it starts with two totally opposite mindsets. You see, Kiyosaki's highly educated dad, his real dad, genuinely believed that finding a safe, secure job with great benefits was the ultimate goal in life. But his rich dad, he saw things completely differently. He believed you have to prioritize learning over earning. To him, working wasn't about the literal paycheck you took home at the end of the week. No, it was about the knowledge you gained while doing it. Seeking broad knowledge rather than just clinging to job security is the true foundation of wealth. To really get why this is so absolutely crucial, let's look at a fascinating real-world example from the book. Kiyosaki was visiting Singapore, and he was being interviewed by this young, incredibly talented female reporter. She had a master's degree in English literature, and frankly, she was just a gifted writer. During their chat, she opened up about her true dream. She wanted to become a successful, best-selling author, but she was really struggling to get her novels noticed by anyone. So Kiyosaki, genuinely wanting to help her out, suggested she take a sales training course. He basically told her that learning how to sell and market herself would do wonders for her career. Well, let me tell you, she did not take that well. She was deeply offended. She totally bristled at the idea, saying, "I am a professional. I went to school to be trained in a profession, so I would not have to be a salesperson." She was actually angry. In her mind, salespeople were just greedy folks who only wanted money, which was completely beneath her artistic and academic pedigree. But here is the massive realization Kiyosaki pointed out to her right there on her own notepad. She had literally written down, Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author. He pointed right at it and said, look, it says best-selling author, not best writing author. He was the first to admit he was a terrible writer. But he went to sales school. She, on the other hand, was a fantastic writer. If she could just combine her amazing writing talent with the ability to actually sell, boom, she'd have her dream. The lesson here is so profound. It's all about the synergy of skills. Look, most people only know how to work incredibly hard at their one specific craft. But what if you master just one additional skill, like sales, marketing, or public relations? If you combine that with your existing technical talent, your income doesn't just bump up a tiny bit, it jumps exponentially. Honestly, if that reporter had just swallowed her pride for a minute and learned the business of advertising and sales, her career would have exploded. And that brings us to this huge, broader societal issue. From the time we are sitting in grade school, popular opinion drills it into our heads that to make more money, you must become highly specialized. Think about it. Doctors specialize in orthopedics or pediatrics. Accountants, architects, lawyers, they all rush to find a super narrow specialty. We're taught that deeper specialization equals more value. But in the world of true financial independence, that idea is actually a massive trap. Kiyosaki shares this old cliche that works as a really powerful acronym, JOB. It stands for just over broke. When you focus entirely on specializing in one narrow field just to get a secure paycheck, you almost always end up living exactly within your means. You're just paying the bills. Millions of incredibly smart, highly skilled workers are trapped in this exact cycle. They're working just hard enough not to be fired, while the owners pay them just enough so they won't quit. It's a treadmill. So, the crucial point here is the paradox of specialization. Basically, the more specialized you become, the more dependent you are on your specific industry. Think of a senior airline pilot. Their incredible skills don't easily transfer to running a hospital, right? Or any other totally different sector. Because you are so locked in, you become incredibly vulnerable. This is exactly why highly specialized professions, like pilots, teachers, and medical professionals, often have to seek union protection. Their career choices become severely limited. Now, contrast that with the wealthy mindset. The rich dad's advice was entirely different. Instead of learning a ton about one little thing, he advised Kiyosaki to know a little about a lot. The wealthy groom themselves and their kids, by the way, for success by moving from department to department. They want an overall, big picture knowledge of how every single part of a business interrelates. They don't want to be the best cog in the machine. They want to understand how the entire machine works. Let me just pause and ask you a direct question right now. Can you cook a better hamburger than McDonald's? Seriously, think about it for a second. If you're like pretty much everyone Kiyosaki asks this question to, you probably just raised your hand in your head and said, yeah, absolutely. most of us can easily whip up a tastier, much higher quality burger right in our own kitchens. And that right there perfectly illustrates the biggest aha moment of this whole explainer. If you can cook a better burger than McDonald's, why does McDonald's make significantly more money than you? Well, the answer is that McDonald's is not in the business of making the perfect hamburger. Not at all. McDonald's is excellent at business systems. They're absolute masters at the system that delivers that totally average burger to people worldwide. It's a bit tragic, but the reality is that the world is filled with talented, poor people. They're struggling financially not because of what they know, but because of what they do not know. They spend their entire lives perfecting the hamburger. They focus 100% on perfecting their craft or their narrow specialty, and they completely ignore learning the business skills needed to actually sell and deliver it to the world. If you want to escape the trap of the perfect hamburger, you need to actively work to learn. The text lays out 3 interconnected, absolutely essential management skills required for success. First, you must learn to manage cash flow. Second, you have to master the management of operational systems. And third, maybe most importantly, you have to manage people. These 3 things are the absolute engines that drive financial independence. But even above those 3, the single most important specialized skills you can possibly learn are sales and marketing. A lot of people hear those words and cringe. But at their core, sales and marketing are really just the ability to communicate effectively with another human being, whether that's a customer, an employee, a boss, or even your spouse. The better you are at communicating, writing, speaking, and negotiating, the easier your entire life and financial journey is going to be. To really visualize this, think of a synergistic business as a multi-layered structure, kind of like a triangle. On the outside, holding it all together, you have leadership and team. Inside, the whole thing is built on a mission. That mission is supported by cash flow, then communications, systems, legal, and finally, way up at the very top is the product. Notice that. The product, the hamburger, the novel, whatever it is just one tiny piece at the tip. Without all those underlying communication and systems layers, the product literally goes nowhere. So why do so many smart people actively avoid learning sales and communication? Well, it's simple: fear. More specifically, the fear of rejection. Selling is incredibly tough for most folks because, let's face it, nobody likes being told no. But Kiyosaki stresses that conquering this fear makes life infinitely easier. He even suggests taking a part-time job in network marketing, not for the money, but simply for the education and the training. Getting over your fear of failure and rejection is an education far, far more valuable than any short-term paycheck. As you start learning these skills, you really have to adopt the right strategy. Let's look at the contrast between 2 different approaches here. The poor and middle-class habit is always trying to be balanced, putting a few eggs into a whole bunch of different baskets just to play it safe. But the wealthy habit is completely different. The most successful entrepreneurs weren't balanced at all. They put a lot of eggs in just a few baskets and remained intensely, relentlessly focused. And that brings us to our final acronym for today, which is honestly the ultimate strategy for channeling your energy: focus. It stands for follow one course until successful. Instead of scattering your energy everywhere and getting nowhere, pick a path where you can learn a new system. Maybe that's investing, maybe it's real estate, or maybe it's sales. Pick it, stay the course, and endure the discomfort of learning something brand new until you finally break through. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on. Take a really hard look at your daily work and your career trajectory right now. Ask yourself, are you just perfecting your hamburger? Are you trapped in a specialty, terrified of stepping out of your comfort zone? Or are you actively working to learn, focusing your energy on building the systems that will eventually set you free? Stay tuned.